Mark in the count. The swing arm now coming back as our countdown continues.
Good afternoon, folks. And no, I am not Kurt Loder, but I am here today with Brick Something N.E.W.S. That's an old person joke for you, which is perfect because I think we're all old people here today. Actually, here, let me make this a little bit bigger. Oops. So you can all see how wonderful we look. Oh, yeah. All right. This is actually my first weekly news for 2024. So happy 2024 to everybody. Wishing you and yours a good 2024. Today, for my co-hosts, we've got Steve from, I can never get that right. Steve from Delta-17 and Ken from Toy Kennections /Delta-17. You probably know Ken from a bunch of different toy tube stuff, but today he's wearing a different hat. He's actually the only one not wearing a hat, but he's wearing a different hat as an indie toy maker, one of the toy renaissance fans turned creators, I guess, or usherers of toys in this new era. How are you guys doing?
Good, man.
But good. But good.
Yeah.
Tired, but good. Yeah, that sounds about right for 2024. Yeah, it's been busy for these two in particular. You are looking at launching a toy line and having it available for people to purchase and have in their homes. I believe it's by the end of January with sort of a up in the air specific date. So it's now January 7th. You've got your days counting, and I'm assuming you're super busy. Yeah.
Yep.
They've been making the rounds. Today in particular was busy, but I've been seeing you since like last week. I've been seeing the reviews pouring in on the figures, which has been awesome. How are you feeling about the reaction so far?
So good. Everyone's happy, like seriously happy with the reactions.
Yeah.
It's like, it's basically unanimous. I mean, even when there are criticisms, it's things like, the way they, like with Punk, like the way they sit in smaller vehicles, or, people are still getting used to, like, I don't begrudge anyone who thinks $25 is too high because, they're used to paying a certain amount at big box retail for certain items, or maybe they haven't bought a G.I. Joe since they were a kid. I don't begrudge anyone for feeling that way, but a lot of people are warming up to it, A criticism that we would take into account is it could be hard to army build. Maybe we should do figure packs. I don't know. Right. Steve and I have been talking the last 2 days about that.
Nice. So. Little preview there. How about you? You feeling good about the feedback you're getting, Steve?
No, yeah, I'm kidding. Yeah, it's been good, man. It's been good.
You get the political answer, and then you get the sort of like, the candid answer.
Yeah.
Well, they're coming from two different
filtered
angles.
Answer.
Coming through two different angles, right? Because Steve, I know this has been your baby. This is the thing you've been creating and kind of working through your mind. And I know, Ken, you've played a role in kind of bringing that to life and getting it on paper to a certain extent. But so it's a little bit different as a creative, and the person created. Is it nerve-wracking a little before you heard those sort of first reactions, or how's that been for you?
No, I wouldn't say nerve-wracking. I don't get too much. I don't get shooken up or anything like that, No, the parts that stress me out is actually like shipping and different things, logistical, accounting, legal, that stuff really bothers me. That's not my wheelhouse at all, but we'll have some people in place here, and we have some systems in place that are pretty much foolproof. So that means that even I might have a chance at it.
That's great.
Yeah, but I'd rather be left alone to create personally.
Steve is far more even-keeled than I am. I tend to get high and low on this stuff. Then all of a sudden I realize I get really tired from stressing out over things beyond my control. You know that, Brick. But both of you know that.
I was gonna say I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, you've seen it happen before. I've talked to you both on the phone about things I can't control, and especially this when we're going to be at the forefront, and people are going to be talking about the line who we don't know them. They may love it, they may hate it, and it's just like you have to roll with it. And I'm still kind of learning how to do that, right? Because prior to this line, even though I've been working on this line with Steve, kind of in the background, just in an on and off basis, since before Toy Kennections was a thing. Then when the channel started, I was sort of like this documentarian historian. There's not a lot to criticize on that. It's like, okay, here's some information. You either enjoy it or you tune out. This one is a little more, do we like it? Do we not? There's more opinions about aspects, execution, aesthetics. We talked about price a little bit, distribution, the overall feel and climate of the toy space right now. Now we're in the center of it as opposed to being on the sidelines.
Fascinating. I can't imagine what that's like to well, we'll get into that stuff. As I said, as I was telling you all later, we'll talk a little bit. We'll do the sort of news thing where we're just gonna like hanging out with folks, fellow nerds like myself, and we're gonna look at what's out there.
Awesome.
And we've got a bunch of people wanting to do the same with us. So far, what's going on? Plasti, hola, ¿qué pasó? We got Largo's Lair. I'll say ¿qué pasó to you too, even though I know that's not your language, but you're living in it. What's up, Star? Yeah. What's going on, Star? Josh Brown's got the knives out early for Tuesday. What's going on? We got Nolan. Lucha Johnny is instructing me to check Insta or Discord if they're about toy pictures. I think I might have seen them, but maybe you sent more. Another highly creative person, comic book artist extraordinaire, Zach Kinsella. What's going on? Ray Paz, who was hanging out with y'all earlier on Highly Articulated as well. We got Thanos, who was there earlier as well. What's going on, Thanos? Toy photographer extraordinaire. Carol, how's it going? Great to see you. Dang, changing up that thing all the time. Let's see who else we got all here. Allison Troy, Retro Toy Princess, sending the greetings.
We just did an interview on Death Sparrow. Nice. I took that one alone, Steve. You have to watch it and see how badly I screwed up or didn't. You were on the plane. You were on the airplane back when that was when we were recording. She hasn't put it public yet, but she will.
Was that was coloring involved in that?
Not on that one. She just wanted to spend 30 minutes talking about some characters, specific characters.
Nice. I was gonna say, man, you get some coloring pages for Delta-17? That'd be dope.
That'd be cool.
AI Collectibles, how's it going, AI? And TJC, awesome. TJC. Yeah, you go to sleep, you catch the replay.
We were gaming earlier, so this is my 4th stream today. So, well, I wasn't actually gaming; I was watching him play. But it's my 4th stream today. My first one was with TJC. So
this has been your week, huh? Yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about that offline. But I feel like you've had a little bit more freedom last week or so. Renders FX, how's it going? Look, people are already sort of celebrating already. Renders is also a digital sculptor, kind of a toy maker himself, doing everything from figures to full-bodied masks, articulated masks. Let's see. Wraith Mace is here. How's it going? Master Versal Toy Hunter, Eldor from Eternia. Again, one of these wildly talented, just creatives.
Yes.
No chewing. Awesome. Good to see you. And I think that's the folks. Yeah, no chewing. Okay, before we get started, I do this thing that I don't actually know if people look at it, but it's kind of a thing largely for me, the way my brain works, man. When I watch these streams and people are talking about all this dope stuff, I'm like, man, I want to look at it. I want to see this stuff too. And so I put together this QR code. There's a URL down there. If you're catching this live, either myself or Thanos will be dropping those in during the live. And then probably around 5:30 or so towards the end of this, that thing will be updated. Okay.
Oh, the QR code. Zoom in on the QR code. Why won't it pull up a site?
I don't know. It does not work. If it doesn't work, oh well.
Oh, you know why? My phone is trying to zoom into my face.
Yeah, you've got that thing set up to love you, Ken. Okay, let's go ahead and take oh shoot. Let's go ahead and oh god, it's like it's a new year. I don't know what I'm doing here, but that's okay. All All right, let's go ahead and start in with the section of the scene. Again, news doesn't necessarily mean I'm actually running down the news. It's an acronym for the needless ephemera we saw, because as geeks and as nerds, we're probably using social media for what it was intended.
Oh, that's what I forgot to do this week. I forgot to look at the dictionary for what ephemera means. Hold on.
It just means random crap.
Oh, okay. All right then. I don't need to.
That's all you need to know, because that's let's look at random crap to inspire us, to fuel our loves, all of those things. Okay, so today, since I know you all are in the midst of launching a new toy line, and not just a new toy line, we were kind of talking before about this sort of new O-ring resurgence, right? There seems to be a number of toy manufacturers and toy makers who are like, hey, can we go back? Not to go back, they didn't go away, but can we come back to the 3.75? I'm holding an Alley Viper that I was gifted by Ken down there last month when I hung out in Vancouver for a couple days. This is a repro.
The Black Major.
A Black
version.
Major Alley Viper. So they never really went away, right? They're there, and we've had, Hasbro did continue their O-ring line with fits and spurts and here and there, and then there are other folks like Black Major kind of like carrying the torch, and other toy makers. But it might not be something a lot of folks are familiar with, because truth be told, it's not my current format. I'm one of those eye roll Steve modern people. No, I've jumped in there as a I definitely have had my share of 3.75 back in the day, but I'm doing weirdo things now. So to be clear, if that's I don't know what the audience is like, I'm sure folks are familiar, but we're talking about an action figure built on this little piece of rubber, right? Like if you're this little O-ring that held together these figure parts, right, with this little wondrous technology. That's a weird T-hook, I just realized, because it's kind of bent. But for those can you explain the basics of what am I looking at here? Just
well, that holds the legs together by and large, right? The hook there is where the O-ring goes in. You feed it through the waist onto an attachment that's in the back of the torso. You close up the figure, and that's how it's held. Like, that's why it's called an O-ring figure, because the O-ring goes into the hook part of the T-hook.
Okay. Sorry if that was too basic, but just to give you an idea, to go way back, my first experience with O-ring figures, and I don't know if these were the first or not, and it kind of came up earlier in the chat with Highly Articulated, but I inherited a bunch of Micronauts. I think they were from my uncles, but so I was actually born in 76. So when this toy line came out, I had a older brother, 5 years older, and I had some uncles who were maybe about 8 years older than him. So like they were of toy buying age once they came here to the States. And for some reason, I remember a box of Micronauts that I was playing with as a kid alongside the figures that came later. But I love these toys, man. I think this toy, along with some other ones, really kind of set the stage for my kind of collecting habits, whether that was like far off worlds, fantasy, right? The idea that you had not just the figures themselves, but play sets, right? And then in my, like, the whole idea of like customizing figures by taking bits apart and putting them together. And of course the whole like genre. So I heard a reaction. Were you a Micronauts kid there, Steve?
My brother had one, just this yellow guy, but he had you'd press the button on the back and the wings would snap out. And I was obsessed with him, so I was constantly stealing the thing.
I just got a couple of the Micronaut time travelers from our friend B there at Cherry Bomb Toys, Steve.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I would love to get into these guys. They're pretty, Galactic Defender. He was solid yellow, but he had the pop-out yellow wing set on the back.
Yeah. So. And I mean, it's interesting because I think you asked, are they the first O-ring figures? They might be here in North America. Micro Man came out a couple years earlier in Japan. I'm not sure.
Well, that's what these are.
Well, Micronauts was derived from Micro Man, but they're almost the same, right?
They were essentially licensed. They bought the molds and they sold them here in the U.S. So these are Micro Man.
That's effectively what they are.
Right.
So, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, I love these little guys. And then later they did like, the aliens. And then we fast forward. Migo was the one who licensed those from Japan and brought them here. And then they kind of continued building figures with this technology, if you will, in this format with Buck Rogers. Were these ones that you all
I never got into them.
I've got
I saw
one.
some of this. Yeah, I saw some of this on Toy Hunter.
Which one did you have, Steve?
I didn't have them, but if you scroll up, it's the pirate looking dude.
This guy?
Yeah, on the the other way.
Is there another pirate looking dude?
That way.
Oh, this guy.
The open chested one.
Yeah. Man, best theme song. Yeah, it's still stuck in my head. Yeah, no, these were definitely things that I think we also had maybe 3. We had a little Twicky, a Buck, and who was it? It was one of these. I think it was this guy.
Nice.
But yeah, the great thing was you could play with them all and kind of switch them out because they're the same format and they had vehicles too. Particularly when we got here, and I know this is probably something that a lot of people are familiar with. Like this
is the sweet spot right here.
Yeah, right. This really
and that's the year I was born. So definitely the sweet spot.
Awesome. Wow. You're such a young guy. No.
Really.
Yeah, man, these were great for me and my brother. We started, this was the first toy line that we sort of started collecting together. Cause I was, by the time I think I was conscious as a kid, he already had started a Kenner Star Wars collection. And then this was the one where I was a 6-year-old. I was like, oh yeah, cool toys. And we did the whole thing of like, this is going to be mine. You're going to get this one and so on. And, I love these figures, man. As a kid, like you can just scrolling through this whole thing and at yojo.com is just always a delight. It's like that scene in Ratatouille where the dude eats the food and zooms out to his childhood.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm assuming this was a huge influence on yours because I think there's a direct DNA, like a direct lineage to Delta-17, would you say?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. G.I. Joe was a game changer, a life changer for me. It was, the detail, the sculpting, everything, the articulation. I didn't know I was into articulation so much until I picked one up and I was just like, holy cow. Because prior to that, I had a couple of Star Wars figures.
Yeah.
And those Fisher Price adventure people.
Yeah.
And my brother had one Micronaut, and that was my favorite. And then I got G.I. Joe. It was like, oh, wow, my life is now exciting, right?
Yeah, especially when they went and had the swivel arm battle grip. And I heard today your figures, the Delta-17 figures, have the wrists, right?
Swivel arms, yeah.
Or do they actually have at the forearm? Or is it just at the wrist?
At the wrist.
Swivel wrist, yeah.
Strike Force Alpha puts them at the forearm because of where they do the attachment.
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually, that's why. So they're the ones that do it at the forearm.
Gotcha. No, I just because when I heard the wrists, Micronauts had the sort of like swivel wrist too, and I was like, oh, that's not something I had in my own.
Yeah, they had the like rotatable. Wrists. Sort of thing, yeah.
All right, so that took us to Joe's, and then just a quick offshoot, like a bunch of different toy lines did it, but I remember having these Galoob A-Team, not these, man. I drooled over these from the catalog.
Yeah.
Like, man,
they're so cool. I mean, some people don't like the jumpsuits that they're all in. Yeah, so it is a bit basic, but it's what we had at the time.
And it didn't reflect what they looked like in the show.
Not really, yeah.
Yeah, there's those jumpsuits you're talking. But this was the one set that I had. Where was it? It was like there you go. It like came with a bunch of stuff, but of course not the cool vehicles.
Right. Wow.
But yeah, they're still mixed in with my 375 Joes in a case somewhere in Pasadena, California, in a storage unit. So yeah, that's the project for this summer. My brother and I going through our collection and kind of sort of seeing the state of it and eventually moving on. But so that was 375 back then. Fast forward to this century. Oh, that hurts. And there's been this resurgence. Like in addition to you all right now doing Delta-17. There have been other folks, and some of these you'll notice are Kickstarters.
Absolutely.
All of these Kickstarters have been successful. Just to throw out there, like there's an interest in these, right? And there's definitely an interest in getting more of these types of figures. We had Legends of the Hidden Force doing more ninja kind of focus. Again, something that in my brain at least has always sort of been embedded in the 375 thanks to the G.I. Joe ninjas.
Yeah.
Got Strike Force Alpha, which you mentioned a little bit ago, Ken. And then we've got people doing like straight up army builders that could actually work with your Joes, right?
The ketchup and mustard O-rings for this one that would look good with the flag.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just, it's like, and then there's more, right? There's like the Operation Recall.
There you go.
Right? It's just like there's several.
I can't wait for the Night Ops version of that Ratello figure. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm fanboy first,
you know,
then Toy Tuber and Delta-17 person, like, you know, 2 and 2A, but I'm fanboy first. So.
Well, if you weren't a fanboy, you probably wouldn't be motivated to do it. You know, an online channel about shows, right? I mean, that's how we all got sucked into this world.
So sometimes I feel like I overdo it, but you know, I don't think I ever can. Anyway,
and so these are all like, which of these have landed or are landing in 2024?
Strike Force Alpha,
Longbow. Don't forget Longbow.
Call sign Longbow. They're landing most likely next.
Sorry, of course. Call sign Longbow.
and a small shout out to the Skeletron team because they do they're going to be dabbling in O-ring, but they're going to be mostly modern 4-inch construction and 6-inch line. The ones that have landed, Strike Force Alpha has landed. The O-ring wolf character with the swappable Skeletron head. So it's one sculpt, but there's swappable kits, so you can get 2 characters out of it. That is going to drop next. That may even drop by the time our figures are available for public order. If not, it'll be like within a very short time after that.
Okay.
So Strike Force Alpha is out. Then us, and then like I said, the Skeletron O-rings are almost here as well. Call sign Longbow supposed to drop sometime this year. We don't know whether this year means June or whether this year means September. We don't know that. I think Operation Recall is still in the sculpting phase, so they're a little behind that. And I've heard that Legends of the Hidden Force is supposed to drop by the springtime as well. But I last talked to Darren about 3 months ago about that. And then in the Navy, those specific figures from in the Navy, I don't think have dropped yet, but they have other figures from before that Kickstarter that have dropped by the same maker.
Right.
So hope I caught it. Hope I got all that right. Jesus.
Man, that is an encyclopedia toy connections brain right there. But
I tried to open up the encyclopedia a bit while we were when we were going to the different toy stores when you visited me here.
You did.
But the brain, the brain is on and off. When it's not working, it's not working. When it's working, it's working. So.
If any of you ever get a chance to go to a toy store with Ken, it's great. It's like a tour, personal tour through not just the toy store, but actual toy history. Okay, and then there are some larger companies getting in on this too, right? Recently, Super 7 announced that they were going to be doing some O-rings, and particularly starting off with the Joes, right? So it just seems like there's a bunch landing right around the same time, and of course, right around that same time, we are going to get these guys, which we'll circle back to again later, Delta-17. So that's what we're doing today. And as Brian, was it Brian Brink? I think it was Brian Brink. Oh,
the master of the charts.
Yeah,
Brink? Master. He was in the chat. He was in the
right
chat
here. Is saying, it seems like y'all are the flavor of the week in a good way, right? Like, definitely.
Let's hope we're the flavor of we can parlay that into flavor of the decade as well.
Yeah, no, hats off to you for real. Hats off to you for planning this all out and knowing like, okay, hey, well, I don't know how planned it was, but just we're going to be landing pretty soon. We're going to be shipping. We want people to know about us, remind folks that we're coming and that these figures are going to be available soon. So it's like I said, it's been all over sort of ToyTube. I hope it continues for you all. I hope we can all do kind of what we need to do to let people know about these new indie toy lines, which is definitely something that's sort of near and dear to my heart. So we'll come back to Delta-17. Is there anything else that you wanted to sort of say before we move on to sort of other things about this kind of like seeming resurgence in O-rings?
No, all I'd want to say is I'm really excited to see everyone's work coming out. Like, I'm just as big of a fan. You know, even though I am a competitive person, I really, really, really enjoy seeing other people's stuff come out. You know, it's so exciting. I don't have to do any of the work. I just get to be a fanboy, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And I love that part, you know, and to see all the like Longbow, they really switched it up during their campaign, and they brought out some really fantastic figures right at the, you know, as they got into the Kickstarter. Like, whoa,
like during the stretch goals, like the Krosny Ninja that was unlocked during the backer kit, and the Adapt Trooper is the one that I was the Ghost. The Adapt Trooper was the one I was fanboying about because it because of its lore and tie into history.
Yeah, and then you know, Strike Force Alpha, beautiful work. Really excited about them.
I'm holding your Strike Force Alpha figures. What do? I'm gonna play with these while Steve is
stop it.
No. Look what I got, Steve. Look what I got. I got Strike Force Alpha figures.
Yeah, it's not
fair. Kids,
fair.
Play nice, Ken.
Well, you've got the chap blocking me, so I can just taunt him from behind the comment.
Yeah. And then I saw Hidden Force and Real, the Paint Masters at Joe Fest. They look great. You know, there's just so much good stuff coming out. Recall is really neat. Skeletron, of course, is amazing. There's just so much good stuff.
Yeah,
Steve.
It is. I mean, like, and again, like, I think there's room for, you know, all sorts of toys. I don't know, you know, there's been a lot of talk about like, will there be sort of a bubble bursting? Because it's true, man. There are way more toys out right now, toy lines available right now than I've ever seen. My sort of like best of 2023 list video was a trip, because I'm like, wow, a lot of these figures that I'm talking about are ones that not just sort of like cool figures from 2023, but they're like brand new companies that they're giving us their first showings in 2023. And
I don't think there'll be
one or two.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be a bubble bursting. If anything, it might be for. I don't think it'll be for the smaller guys. We don't have big overheads and tons of employees and all that stuff, right? So for the bigger guys, you know, they got their shareholders and they have to maintain themselves at a certain revenue. They have to grow at all times, otherwise their shareholders are mad. You know, it's like whatever, right? So we don't have that. We can get by on so many sales and continue to grow. But yeah, it's exciting to see all the new stuff that's coming out. It's really interesting, and the creative people that have come out, and it seems like everybody, you know, the whole world stopped for this pandemic, except for the creatives. The creatives were like, "Oh, perfect! Now everyone will leave me alone.
Gave us
leave us all alone, and we can all just work." And you know, it's like 2 years of shutdown. Perfect. Give me 3. You know. And that's why you're seeing this huge resurgence of so many different toys.
Absolutely. I think, I think there's definitely something to that. That did give us some room to pause. Obviously, like, it was rough for a lot of folks, but it did. The bright side was it gave us some time to maybe, to breathe a little bit and do some different things. Oh, that was ironic. But and you know, I know not everybody's a fan. Hey, Rob, what's going on? You know, I'll throw it up just to throw it up. He's a good dude. You know, our modern collecting habits have changed. I'm the same. You know, this is the only one that I have on hand because I just haven't gotten a whole lot of O-rings, because I have actually been sort of, you know, moving my collector brain and my budget to those toys, and I've been fascinated by them. So I get it. But the fact is, like, there are folks out there who are waiting, and I think the Kickstarter, the back Kickstarters are there, the interest in these different toy lines. So All right. So, and then, just to throw this out there, there's some other folks here. Renders is saying us military brats used to gather up and just set up Joe Wars in the neighborhood, vehicles, setting up the
Nice.
figures, the staging, right? And there's rule sets too. Love
Wow.
it. Yeah, man. That sounds like a good time. And then who are some other folks that were throwing in some stuff? We can hopefully y'all aren't too bothered by the folks offering the. Let's see.
I already replied.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's see. Where else? Anyways, I think I lost that. Oh no, here. How am I gonna miss this? Brian. Yeah, the Dukes of Hazzard figures. Yeah, there's a kid were O-ring too. Yeah, there were a bunch of them.
Yeah. Chips and mash as well.
Yep. So yeah, this is really great, and I know that it holds like a real special place in folks' hearts, toy folks. So cool to see the O-ring resurgence, but let's go ahead and shift into some other stuff. Let's talk some modern stuff real quick.
Whoa.
So this figure, I just realized, where is he? Is my, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched the video, top figure of the year. And again, this is from a company, Maestro Union, newish on the scene. They had 2 other releases before this, a giant crocodile, a werewolf, and then this one. And this is the first that sort of had the sort of kung fu thing going on. Why is this here today? Because again, creatives, right? This is a different place where not only do we have creatives out there, but we have people with the more accessible tools and space to be able to create things and mass produce things. In this case, Kai Lab, who creates dope soft goods, made a set specifically for this guy. So all these things that you see here. And I'm always just intrigued, and that's for sale. Oops, that's you guys. That's for sale on a bunch of different places, but including here at Toys Metaverse.
Wow.
And oops, I just realized, Thanos, are you able to drop the links? If not, I will do those. Anyway, so yeah, this is available to folks if they're interested at Toys Meta. I don't get a commission or anything like that, but
no, but you're a good guy who will promote stuff you saw.
Yeah, man, just go check it out. But yeah, and again, it's not the cheapest stuff in out there, but folks are creating this.
Where else are you streaming? You're streaming on YouTube, but where else are you on Twitch?
I think it's on Twitch. I forgot to change it.
I got you.
That's where you're getting some weird promo stuff, but not everyone sees it, and I'm not worried about it. Anyway, just to add to your figures, customize. It's just a different game, right? With the soft goods and everything. In fact, this figure, the one complaint, if I did have one, was that it came with one of those like rubber solid capes that doesn't move, with a figure that can do crazy poses, and it just seems antithetical to like what they're trying to achieve.
That head sculpt is insane,
right?
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, man.
You know what you're thinking, Steve? Who's that sculptor? And are they?
That's Sebadom, who just did a dope sort of tutorial and workshop yesterday on Cabal. Does them often.
On the Mythic Legions Cabal.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Sebadom's doing a lot of the figure designs for this line, Fury Planet, for a company called Maestro Union. Anyway, and then other creatives are like, hey, let's create some clothes for it. And in this age, if you have the means, you can go grab it. Anyway, that's yeah, I like when folks say wow. That's
very impressive. Yeah.
More impressive soft goods. This thing is 112, believe it or not. This is what I'm calling the Jokerized Cesar Romero figure. It's a unlicensed figure by Mars Toys of something that looks a lot like the Cesar Romero turn at Joker in the old Batman TV show. Yes. Complete with makeup over the mustache. So
I remember he would not shave it for the show. I remember that being a famous story.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I'm always intrigued by the sculpt for sure, right? But the soft goods, it's always hard to kind of match up weave with the scale. But
yeah, they did really good job with that. I mean, most soft goods you can't miniaturize stuff, and that looks really well done. Those edges and everything.
Yep. Yeah.
Impressive.
It's pretty fascinating. Of course, this is not the final product, so who knows what this would finally look like? Gotta always say that. But yeah, and all the accessories, man, it's pretty wild. Again, these are companies, overseas companies, who are doing it without the license. And so it's intriguing to me to think, like our concept as kids was like, oh yeah, Hasbro and Kenner and Mattel, like these big companies, and the game has changed so much, right? Production, access to production tools, the technology for sculpting, prototyping, rapid prototyping, all that stuff is a little bit more accessible. So we're seeing a lot more things get produced. And I've always kind of wondered what, like, your Hasbro and Mattel kind of think about this kind of stuff, especially when they're producing things that are of a higher quality. Obviously,
right.
Yeah. But
another thing about the big guys is they're so much pursuing the shareholders and increasing their volume and all that stuff, that they're starting to lay off extremely talented people.
Yep.
And so little guys like us are like, hey, what you doing?
Work.
Yeah. And
well, I mean, how did Corey get involved with some of the indie companies?
Exactly.
Reason.
And I feel really bad for these people. These are great, fantastic people.
Mm-hmm.
And they've worked their whole lives. They've worked hard and they've worked their way up. Very valuable, and they just get turfed for no reason.
I know.
But at least it gives us a chance at approaching them and being like, we got some work for you. And some of these people are getting work all over the place, a little bit here, a little bit there, and they're just as busy now.
And on top of that, with the internet, with folks like myself and Ken doing what we do to kind of like talk about these things, with social media being what it is, a lot of these artists and designers and sculptors and painters, they're all like a lot more accessible. So like they're known quantities more so. So, it becomes, hopefully, I'm hoping, a little easier for them to pick back up when things don't work out, right? And like folks are like, hey, you did this, and like, or who did this sculpt? Like we were saying earlier, oh, it's Sebadum. And yeah, hopefully. Anyway, that's a joker. I don't know if you guys ever messed with Storm Collectibles at all.
No,
I have one figure of Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
Oh, okay.
Go figure which figure I would have for Storm.
I know, right?
but you and I were looking at some. Was it Tekken figures by Storm, or was it Street Fighter figures by Storm?
Or was it both? It was a.
I know you were looking at a Zangief.
I'm trying to remember. We looked at a Street Fighter.
I think it was Zangief you were looking at.
There was also a was it Samurai Showdown? I forget, man.
Was it Tekken? Was it King from Tekken?
It wasn't. It wasn't.
Or was Tekken made by somebody else? I don't know.
I don't know, but they're bigger, right? They're a little bit bigger than in scale, but I love the way they move. Anyway, I was just taken aback by this. I haven't played a modern Street Fighter. I haven't played a Street Fighter since, like, I don't know, maybe after like the Capcom versus Marvel.
I was going to say Marvel versus Capcom 2 was the last Street Fighter game I played. That was over 2 decades ago.
So like, I don't actually know this character, but I'm just kind of a fan of of art in general. Like the stuff that it trips me out to think that like these are sculpts, right? Like, I don't know. I just, these are, and they come out with such regularity. I just love the look of that face. Again, I don't know the design of the character at all. I'm not familiar, but just like, wow, that's something that people are replicating en masse, in these toys. So I'm intrigued by that. And I'm intrigued by action figures in general. So,
cool.
Yeah. Little
skaboom.
Yeah. And you can see the different articulation points and stuff, but, I don't know. Again, not necessarily something that I would personally pick up, but just cool to see people doing these things, right? Yeah, and I know Zach has that because, man, I started lesson for that Zangief figure since his video on his YouTube channel. Anyway, just a couple more shots, and it's intriguing to me that. It's like, wow, that is just so cool. That exists. Someone made that. People are producing it. And yeah. Anyway,
it's very well done. Yeah, that looks really incredible. I'm not a fan, but you can see it's like, wow, like they nailed it. I don't know what it is, but it looks good.
That's exactly what I said.
Yeah.
It was like,
It's
I
the
don't
whole
know this
fighter
guy,
game.
but damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the whole fighter game thing, right? Like, you know, like when Jada started doing Street Fighter stuff, it's like, wow, like now we can get more.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on from there. A little bit different, shift gears. I'm a big Mythic Legions fan. Love these figures. Love just what the Four Horsemen have done for the entire like action figure game.
Yeah.
And so part of that has been, you know, with their own sort of independent spirit, supporting creatives. They created a toy line that has the possibility of popping and swapping. And so with that came customizers and people with like, you know, the ability to like do molds and do 3D printing, started doing custom parts. And that created like this whole cottage industry of customizers, which then made custom dio makers and the whole nine, just custom soft goods, painters, etc. And so there's like this little cottage industry that's sort of like is part of the Four Horsemen, Cosmic Legions, Mythic Legions, I don't know, ecosphere, whatever you want to call it.
Figure obscure.
Yeah, just that like there's this whole creative mindset, and they have this annual convention, and so this is one of those persons who's a Mythic Legions fan. He goes by Beerman Photography, but it's the first name Jared Beerman. Is like, hey, you know, I'm thinking about a new way of displaying figures. He's doing these like these shadow box frames with a little tiny dio and the photo in the back.
Cool.
And bringing them to Legions Con next year, kind of soliciting feedback from the community, as you can see here. And just like, yeah, this is what happens when we grow up, right? And we have access to making things and we're collecting toys and we're like, hey, I want a cool way to just play mine. Maybe other people will too. And so this is something that Jared's like, you know, starting to put together and is going to probably bring to Legions Con 2024.
Yeah. So will it be Legions Con for you this year or Joe Fest?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, that's still a question mark, man. I don't know. I just, yeah, I don't know.
Do I need to volunteer you through Jason for the one I'm going to be at?
We'll see, man. It's more the life thing, but I would love to hang out again. When is Joe Fest?
June 21st to 23rd.
June. It's possible, actually. That both. We'll see. I'll leave that hanging there. But yeah. Anyway, it's interesting to me. Like this is not too many steps removed from Steve with like, oh, I've got an idea for a line. I'm gonna make action figures, right? It's kind of like a person has an idea, and they follow through, and yeah. So I just wanted to highlight that. I appreciate the effort.
Wow.
Cool little like, you know, cool idea for displays. It's like toy photography on your wall, but in 3D.
Yeah, that is very cool.
I take it.
That would get addictive though, man. That would get addictive pretty quick. Right.
You get so much wall space, right? Hopefully that's a natural limit with the lighting and everything. And I love the playing with the dimensions too, the foreground, background. That's real cool. All right, what else do we got? Oh, this one. This has a couple of figures that I love, but just the Collector 77. This one struck me as something cool that I saw. These are figures that came out, I think, in 22 by, come on, brain, work for me. I don't got that Ken brain. Noda Studio, doing their take on Journey to the West with their Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong was
Ken's brain blanked on this as well, so don't worry about it.
One of my tops of 2023. I love that Sun Wukong figure, highly posable, dope sculpt. This figure's
Sun Wukong over the other figure Obscurus, over Father Christmas, over.
Oh, you got to check out that video, Ken.
Over.
I'll tell you.
I know the answer. I just want you to reinforce it. That's all. I know what you think of Sun Wukong,
and I'm just teasing it here for anyone that hasn't seen it. But yeah, go check it out. My best of 2023.
Wow.
But it's just again cool. I'm just thinking like the state of the art. For those who don't know, I do have an art background myself. At one point, I was teaching art in high schools. And so just like I'm consistently impressed by folks like, you know, like it's one thing to say, I want to be a toy maker when I grow up. It's another thing to be like, oh, I want to work for a company. And then it's just like, I just want to make this thing and just actually do it. Right. And it just seems like there's a ton of people doing it. And all us toy nerds who can have the means to partake are benefiting, or just look at cool stuff on the internet for free. So
yeah, there's a lot of good work there. You can tell that's a lot of hard work, and they really did it well.
mm-hmm.
Jeez.
And what I'm also liking is this sort of, I feel like the dam burst on really, I don't know, giving us different concepts and themes, like the idea of like Chinese martial arts or Chinese cultural, like fictional characters, or stuff from mythology wasn't necessarily something that was in abundance. Like G.I. Joe didn't never quite hit that. They did the ninja thing out of Japan quite a bit. And so I feel like we're seeing a bunch of stuff. I've seen stuff coming out of like Mexica stuff, Aztec stuff, Incan stuff. So I don't know. It's pretty intriguing to me as an old dude playing with toys to kind of see more just new sources of influence to kind of, inspire these cool fantasy toys, or in some cases more historical toys. So I dig these, and yeah, so much so that when he put this up, I'm like, yeah, speaking my language. So cool stuff. Let's move on.
Oh,
what's this, Ken?
Yes, you showed me this.
What
I had
is
just
this,
seen
Ken?
it. My goodness, it looks like a video game.
This is a animation by Make It Move Media. They've done this for a couple of different figure lines. They reach out to the company and it's like, hey, can we collaborate on this thing? We'll take your 3D models and make a move. And I'm a huge Animal Warriors of the Kingdom fan. Love that toy line. Again, just another dope indie creator who had an idea and is realizing it. We last year, 2023, was the first year that we actually had these figures in hand. And I just hope that by showing stuff like this, by moving media, it's like maybe gets us an inch closer to seeing some of this stuff in animation, right? Earlier on Highly Articulated, someone asked you guys, we're going to get a Delta-17 Saturday morning cartoon? I think it was Thanos, right?
Yeah.
Man. And you were saying, Steve, I'm sorry, I'm messing up on the links, but you were saying that you're a big Saturday morning cartoon kid, right?
Oh man, I love cartoons. It's either I'm going to watch a very serious war movie, or maybe something sci-fi. Like I'm not much into sci-fi, but when somebody goes out there and they do it properly, they have to design every toothbrush, every room, every light. That kind of sci-fi, like Blade Runner, is just like
a brand new world kind of thing.
Yeah, brand new world. So it's either something war related or sci-fi, or it's going to be cartoons, and I'll watch SpongeBob all night long or whatever. I love cartoons.
That's great. I mean, in many ways, it came hand in hand with the toy collecting back in the 80s, right? And Adam, who you were on with earlier, he's doing more AWOK animations soon too. So Make It Move's going to be doing more AWOK. We're getting, pretty damn close to seeing these things, in animated form, which is like exciting to me because there is something to be said about communicating story too. And I know you all with your line too have really thought a lot about story. And when I hear you talk about it and the different sort of factions at play, and kind of heard somewhat of a tease of things that might be coming in the future on the Highly Articulated stream earlier, that's exciting. And I want to see that story, right? I'd love to read that story. But I would love to sit back and just watch that story, and theme music and all.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Yeah.
You don't got to describe it, but I'm just curious. Do you ever hear a theme song in your head for Delta-17?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good enough.
I'd like to get
go ahead.
I mean, if you're willing to share, go for it.
Well, Daniel Pemberton is somebody that really inspires me when it comes to theme music and background music. He's the guy who's done extensive work on the Spider-Verse movies. And so I like stuff like that. It's got to be something a bit dark, a bit serious. I don't know, somewhere around there.
You thinking more on the sort of guitar side of things, the more sort of electronic beats type of things, a blend, orchestral?
It would be a blend for sure. I wouldn't want to nail anything down yet. When I
Sure.
look at
Just
stuff, I like that one background song in Sicario that they have that I can't remember what it's called. But I like some of this dramatic, moody, dark stuff that they have.
yeah.
So
That's cool. Oh man. Anyway, it would be great to see an AWOK thing. It would be great to see a Delta-17 thing. And I think, yeah, I actually do think there's something to be said. And we know this from the historical application of this concept, that when there's a cartoon and a story accessible to kids, it often helps with the toy sales. So
yeah.
That sounds crass, but you know what I mean.
Oh, no. That's just reality. It's reality.
Yeah. All right. On the sort of Japanese robots ends of things, this is just something that I was reminded of. So my cousin who ended up living with us at first, a bunch of folks when they moved from the Philippines during martial law ended up at our place and then eventually found places of their own.
Oh, during the whole people power movement?
Yeah, prior to the people power movement and getting out of there. And then, and so this was a toy that my cousin had. He had a couple of these Godaikin, just glorious looking toys that were like a whole new world. Because again, I was like G.I. Joe, right? Star Wars. And this kid comes in with these like transforming robots that were like,
wow,
what is that? So this is the vintage, and there was something about this one that always stood out to me because he was such a cool, like I've never actually seen the entertainment associated with this in terms of like, what's the story, any of that. Oh, come on. Yeah. And so, but there was an intriguing feature with this where basically it's like a Russian nesting doll.
Cool.
Where you open them up and inside, like they fit into one another. And so I saw this post the other day by My Action Figures World of the new Soul of Chogokin, like modern version of it. And at first I didn't even recognize it. And I'm looking at this thing, wow, that's cool. And I was like, oh, wait a second. And so this was totally that thing. Apparently it's Gordian. It was Guardian back in the day. I don't know what the difference is or if that was a Japanese name. But here you can kind of see the feature of the way this thing, right? So they were doing all sorts of stuff, whether it was the combiners or things transforming into other things. In this case, it was a human being inside a suit, inside a larger mech, inside of a larger mech, right? And so
that's awesome.
Yes. Yeah.
It's got a very, I don't even know what to call it. Like is it anime? I don't know. Like,
I mean, yeah, this is an animated Japanese animation property back then. And so like, just playing with the whole like giant robot kind of thing, but, trying to switch it up, right? For a while, like I said, we had the combiners, right? And that was the whole thing of like the team. This is, person inside of a mech that just, whatever. Anyway, it's cool. I love there's a little thing in there and just toys. I'm a fan of I'm a fan of many different types of toys. And like, just to be clear, this is the beauty in my mind of the internet. And this is why, and I keep forgetting, I want to give people the links because like I can't afford this stuff and I don't have the space if I wanted to, but I can sure check it out. And where's the fun in that of me just sitting by myself? Like, this is what people do. Like they post and like, instead I'll bring on two friends and like, hey, let's check out this stuff. What do you think of that? And a bunch of folks in the chat. So,
man, I would buy that in a heartbeat. That is really, really cool.
Oh, so good. Yeah. No, Brian saying as a kid, I always wanted these nesting robots. I miss the obscure robot aisle from old Toys R Us. Yeah, Toys R Us had those Godaikin things when we were kids. There was like these were being reproduced here in the States. I want to say by, was it Poppy? Anyway, just cool stuff. Again, we started talking about O-rings and we looked at sort of modern, larger 1/12 type scale figures. We're looking at robots. Like, man, it's all good. It's not one or the other. It's like a wonderful, fun world we're living in.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, that is essentially the scene part, I kind of also like to look at the different ways people play, and one of them these days is toy photography. And so
Nice.
I would love to share with you in the chat just a couple of cool little things that I saw,
That's cool.
including Jungle Adventure April O'Neil by Rad Toyologist.
That's awesome.
The head is from I actually don't know. Would you happen to know if this is a NECA or what it is, Ken? I don't know if that's in your wheelhouse or if maybe somebody else in the chat could tell
I'm trying
us.
to look at my Super 7 April right there, but I just realized she came with multiple different heads.
So the head the head is from a
Possible.
figure. Oh, let's see.
Possible from a Super 7.
Yeah, it's not listed in here, so it could be. But the body is from Metal Slug. You ever play that
Quip
old
got
video
it,
game?
and Highly got it. It's a
NECA.
NECA head.
Got it.
Yeah, it doesn't match the Super 7 one, but I know she had 3 heads in that pack, so I wasn't sure. Anyway.
So they took a Metal Slug, which is based on an old video game property. There's a series of those toys coming out.
Yeah.
Body, and dropped the April head, and it's kind of cool, right? It's like and I love that the whole Dio
You know what?
thing. And
she's in Tila color, so I actually thought that's who it was at first.
oh, sure. I mean, they share a palette, as a little bit of Scarlet in there too.
Yeah, right.
Anyways, that's one dope photography, Rad Toyologist. This one is by a friend and son, I believe, is the Teflon 3. So it's Action Figs and the Teflon 3.
Oh yeah, it's Ed.
Yeah. And but is the Teflon 3 his son? Anyway, either way, they this one stood out to me. One, it's a smaller scale. These are those Eagle Force figures. Definitely more modern construction, but with a vintage Adventure People vehicle.
I was wondering what that was. It looked familiar.
Rick, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna step aside. I got it.
Do your thing.
I gotta check the laundry, see if it's done.
Yeah. Okay, you go handle your laundry. Gotta have clean clothes. Wash out that.
Well, I just can't leave it in the wash for too long when it's done.
I think it's cool. I love that Ed takes his toys out and kind of takes photos, but there's this mix of the new world with the vintage stuff we grew up with, and
that's very cool.
Yeah, I dig it. And you did you say you were doing the Adventure People?
Oh yeah, I had a couple of sets of that as a kid. I loved them. You know, I had that one plane that clicked onto the green boat. No, it wasn't green. It was white and green. And then I had the Park Ranger set, and then there was the van with the eagle on it and different things. So yeah, we played pretty hard with that. It was great. I loved it up until I found G.I. Joe. Then it was just like, whoop, see you later. You know,
those Adventure People were my brothers and I's like garage sale pickups, like later in the 80s, and we would just find them super cheap. Some kid in the neighborhood's getting rid of them and mix them up with our Joes. So
yeah.
Anyway, awesome stuff. And just heads up, Zach, careful. Yeah, they're not cheap. Again, you can always sort of look. And on you, it's not a team. It was a single dude. But yeah. All right, moving on.
Cool.
Indiana Jones and the Give Me Back My Goddamn Hat. Using that NECA mummy kit and the mummy. Oh yeah, I think the mummy's from there. But just it's cool to see what people are doing with these things. It's going to be a trip to see what people end up doing with Delta-17 figures, right? The toy photographers and
for sure
what they get up to. So
yeah, there's so much talent out there. It's really astounding. You know, people are really pursuing all these different things, and and you see it all over the place. That's the best thing about Instagram and some of these other sites. You can just peruse multiple people you've never heard of, you don't know, and you can see their work, and it's like, wow, you know, there's a lot of really talented people out there.
Yep.
So,
and the internet's giving them a venue, and then here's folks like me who are like, hey, come check out these things. And and I love it. I have a little bit of a punk rock kind of background myself. I've talked about it before, and in my mind, those things have kind of married with the internet in that, like, back then it was like, I don't need to have a, record label contract to release a record. I don't need to
Right.
have a deal with a venue to be able to do a show. And now it's like folks are like, I'm taking these photos and I want people to see them. Like, I'm just going to publish them. And
Yeah. Nice.
I love it. I love it. How about I love toys, so I'm going to make toys, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's see. Is that it I have for? Oh no, we've got a couple more. Are you a big Marvel guy?
Yes, I have thousands of comics here, and I've got way too many Marvel Legends and other spin-offs. I like some of the random, older, weird stuff. Like, I'm kind of like you. If there's a really odd toy out there, I'll grab it, because it's like, oh, that's so ugly or small or round or whatever.
Nice.
It's like, I have to have it, it's weird.
Yep. I'm with you. And I'm just curious for your Marvel, do you tend to skew to a particular time period when you're looking at your Marvel Legends and ones that you end up picking up, or were they kind of across the board?
Yeah, it's the last 20 years, 20 years to modern, I guess, is what I mostly look at, I don't know, maybe a bit of stuff beyond that.
I'm intrigued by it all, but there's definitely a place in my heart for stuff like this when people are taking like the like, let's get your full on coast to coast Avengers group shot.
Nice.
And then you've got like, when I was a kid, we had Secret Wars, right? 5 POA, and they were like not exactly the ones that we were getting in the comic book. Dr. Doom didn't even have a cape, and he had a weird holographic lenticular shield. Like, yeah, that's fine, but that wasn't the thing that I remember from the comics. And I look at these when people have these kinds of setups, and I'm like, man, like this is straight out of those comics that I was reading as a kid.
Wow,
it's cool.
Yeah, that's wild.
And then this one is a little bit more on the modern era. I just threw this in just because I'm a fan of these Jada Street Fighter figures. But yeah, man, Marvel versus Capcom with the that blood effect. Yeah, a lot of talent, man. Just a lot of talent out there.
Yeah.
I'm truly excited to kind of see what happens with Delta-17 and getting to see some folks doing photographs and just setups, and it's gonna be
it's gonna be very fun.
You all were saying, I heard earlier with Highly Articulated, that you're taking pictures for the actual pictures of the products for the site. Are they mainly like product shots? Are there action shots, or what's that? What's coming for the website?
Product shots. I mean, action would just be them pose a certain way, like holding the gun. And I just sent a bunch of those to Mega J, and he's gonna get the site updated at some point. I still may owe him 1 or 2 more photos, but that's pretty much it.
That's awesome. Yeah, again, so we'll see what happens from the community, because that seems to be a thing now, as we just saw, and I'm here for it. All right, cool. Let's take a look at some art. And actually, we'll you know what? I love art, but I also want to save some time for us to talk a little bit about your toy line. So I'm going to pull an audible here, and let's talk real quick about customs. I am curious, do you foresee people doing a whole lot of customizing with your figures? Because I heard you on GDL talking about the capabilities. Could you speak to that a little bit more before we start looking at some other customs? What the capabilities are of switching between other 3.75 inch O-ring lines?
Well, the male bucks fit with the Joes quite well. So it's the females that are not, compatible, like sort of like backwards compatible, if I can pull a video game term into this, with the vintage Joes.
But so did I hear right the other night that you were saying you could actually exchange parts on the 3.75 scale?
The male figures.
The male figures. So like I could put on an arm, and the construction's similar with the chest and everything, I guess.
Yeah, some of the things that you can't do is you wouldn't be able to take a rear torso of a Delta and put on a front torso of a Joe.
Sure.
But otherwise, everything's swappable except for the females, because with the females, their heads, we wanted to give them a smaller, more feminine body than GI Joe, so our torsos are a lot thinner.
Oh,
You know, they don't have the wide shoulders like with GI Joe. Lady J would have the exact same shoulder length as Flint, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with our line, we made them a bit different. So when we had to trim down the torso, we also had to take down the neck ball. So you can see that the neck goes almost straight down in a line to this tiny little ball. It sits in there tightly. It's not going to fall out, but it almost looks like it's not even there. You see from the side, it's,
Yep.
you know, so you're not going to be able to exchange the heads or the torso, the torsos with our females with GI Joe, but everything else you can exchange, even the you know, the Okami parts on our robot ninjas.
Love it.
You know, you can take the hands off and put bat parts on it, or you can take the Okami parts off and put them on a bat figure. You know, whatever you want to do.
They're compatible with that same plug you're saying with the old bats? The old original vintage bats? Okay. Wow.
Yeah, the 86, I believe it was.
Wow.
So yeah, that was done on purpose.
That's smart. Yeah, and that seems to be like a newer, sorry, I'll get you out of this, a newer kind of way of playing with toys.
Yeah.
And that's not 100% true, because some of my first popping and swapping were my GI Joes, not my own, but I had a friend who, for whatever reason, was willing to do that to his. I was like, cool. Unscrew, right? Melt some faces, create some like weirdness and some Frankenstein pieces together, and you're like, new character. Was that? I'm just curious. Like, was that why did you anticipate doing that? Is that something that you just was something you did as a kid, or?
No, I tried a couple of times. My dad never had a good screwdriver that could do that, so I ended up stripping a couple of screws, right? So I backed away from that. I never made a custom in my life, but you know, we just wanted, with Delta-17, we just want people to do what they want. You know, we want them to have as many options as possible. So, you know, we wanted all the accessories to be able to be stored on each figure. We achieved that outside of a couple of accessories, but we hope that people don't mind, because, you know, we gave them a spare antenna for the radio in case they lose one, and we gave them a spare visor for another guy in case they want a different look. But yeah, we just wanted to give people more options. So, you know, swap it out with GI Joe, make customs. These accessories will work with GI Joe. The accessories all stack onto each figure, et cetera, et cetera. So hopefully people enjoy it.
I hope so too, because it's definitely one of my favorite things about the way people are, you know, kind of like sharing their toys these days are the creative piece of just like, you know what, they're not making XYZ character or this kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do my own, right?
Yeah. And that's
again,
the only downside of that is that when I start seeing them online, it's like, okay, now I have to have that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, well, you can't have that. This person custom painted it and made some extra pieces, and you can't just go out and buy everything that you see.
Right.
It's like,
right.
but I love that. I
love that.
Yeah.
Well, you know, again, that's where I would love to advocate for, you know, we don't have to own everything. We can just check it out. And so
I want it all.
Yeah.
This guy, GI Joe Customs, Ferry Deworkaholic.
You can see the Zartan in that. Yeah.
Yeah, I featured a couple of his pieces in October, but since then, been super busy. This is kind of his take on the stealth Zartan, right? And I was like, okay, yeah, you know, I'm here for that. Look at that Sans Mohawk, right? Just
that's killer.
Yeah, just cool. Like, and again, it's like cool in concept and like amazing in execution. The paint on that, and just like the talent, man. The talent's there. This is again custom general character he's created for the Cobras. Like, yeah,
that's cool, man.
And you know, of course, the weathering and all the stuff that would be hard to mass produce, but it's just so cool looking on these customs.
Wow.
This so far is this was 3 days ago. Still doesn't know if it's a Joe or if it's a Cobra. Feel free to to chime in on their Instagram.
Why do I see Tunnel Rat?
It's the stripes, the bandana.
Yeah, I just realized I haven't been good about sharing the links. But yeah, and then it could be there could be some parts in there that are based on it, but I see it in the arms. I don't know. I'm not collecting classified enough to know the parts and recognize the parts. But this, man, there's been a couple people doing great versions of this, right? But I remember those old Marvel comics, man, seeing their backstories. And then seeing them in Vietnam, like realizing, spoiler alert for a really old comic, that Storm Shadow and Stalker and Snake Eyes, right?
Yeah. Tony Figs, Anthony Romo on Instagram was doing some of this.
Oh, yeah.
He did the whole group, man. It was great.
Yeah, and it looked insane.
Yeah, so it's really fascinating to me to see what people are doing and how people are kind of taking their love of these toys that they played with and finding, just finding their creativity.
From the long range recon patrol days.
Yep. And I've got a couple more. Hope this doesn't trigger anyone, but has no problem doing some of the weirdest G.I. Joe characters. This is well after my time. I remember seeing it. I'm like, what? But hey, whatever. The Headman.
The Hamburglar Headman.
Hamburglar.
Totally. And of course, the hooded Cobra Commander,
cool.
the one that a lot of people are looking at. And absolutely, no Tony. And we'll definitely have to be looking at his stuff soon. But I love the coat, right? That's a cool look for Cobra Commander.
That is really nice. The hood is really well done too. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and I haven't done enough research to kind of figure out where he's sourcing the different parts. But like again, that's a thing. Like people are making custom heads, right?
Yeah.
And then it's just I love it.
Some of it, I'd love to get into this, and I'd love to do what they do. Like it's just so fascinating. Some of them are so well done, but then you hear that, I bought 6 action figures and pulled them apart to make one, and it's like, I can't afford that.
That's all right, man. You're doing some other great work and giving us whole new toy lines. So you're busy. All right. Let's this is sort of towards the end. I'm gonna do a little bit. Hey, that's what's up. A little bit more of a feature on someone's work. I'm gonna zoom through this last one. It's just weird. It's out there. But I kind of just want to share it with folks. I heard you say that too, Steve. The weird, like, what is that? So let's get weird. This is an account called Forbidden Toys, and I'm not a huge fan of AI art at all.
Right.
But I will say, like, the commercial piece aside from it's the frustrating part, like the idea of taking other people's work and the potential of taking work away from human beings. But then, there's been this long historical tradition of fine artists playing with new technologies to just throw out concepts there. And that's kind of where I put this out there. This idea of the forbidden toys. This reminds me of any of the art historians in the house, like Dada, hey, let's make fun of everything and let's just the absurdity. So this is the idea of the forbidden toys. These are all AI generated, and they say sadly, but these are all the products these are not real products, folks, but just thinking about our toy, right? And the absurdity of just the world. And I don't know, and so you get a taste of it by looking at these. And
wow,
man, you already pointed out the amateur dentist again, just I don't know. We played with some weird things in the 80s, but nothing quite this strange.
This takes the cake right there.
We used to comb hair, and in this case, why not some dental work?
Nice. I love Spam
meats.
I collect cans of Spam, but I only have 3 cans right now. I want to get more.
Different
labels.
Labels. Yeah, because they're not those labels that I grew up with. Yeah, I'd love to see sort of the old ones, and love it. Harry and the Hendersons, Hot Dog and the Johnsons.
Nice.
Again, just And so apparently there are some like folks who are some art grants that are actually working with this person to potentially produce like one-offs as like art objects
Nice.
for a show. But yeah, the Electro Buddy, your artificial friend by Orcom Industries. And then this will
cool.
be the last of these, but just right. Remember those old anatomy figures, and there's a whole like super cyborg. Anyway, just weird ass stuff. I'm
a little bit worried why his large intestine is hanging out, though. It seems a bit low.
Yeah. I think he needs to see something about. I mean, anyway.
Wow.
There's this other thing that I do want to talk. We talked a lot about it in the beginning, but I do want to take a little bit of time before we close out the show today to talk a little bit more about Delta-17. And you guys have the Instagram presence, Delta-17 Toys, and you also have the website, which we showed earlier, delta17toys.com. So I don't know. I just kind of want to I don't know if there's anything more that because I know you've been talking a lot about the line. Is there anything that you feel like hasn't been said or folks should know that they haven't had a chance to hear yet?
Ken, what do you think?
I mean, there's been a few. I don't know if I addressed this. Maybe I addressed it on Geek Dad Life the other night. I meant to say it on the earlier streams. Is that sometimes you have an issue with one of the legs not being only being able to go about 45 degrees up. And I did find I Wilhelm tried it, and then I tried it as well. If you take the T-hook, you disassemble it, you turn it around, you'll get more movement. Ideally, you just replace it with a thinner T-hook. I don't know how that ended up being the way it is, but it is. So, but that's just something that we'll have to spread the word.
Just
on
in terms of articulation and movement.
Yeah,
you're saying the actual T-hook, flip it over.
If you're having problems with getting one of the legs to bend upwards all the way. Turn the T-hook around, and that should help. Maybe you don't get the full 90-degree range, but you'll get close, right?
I love it, Ken. You're already addressing some of the feedback that's out there. Man, they're really cool though. And I get it if folks want to sort of see certain things. I guess the concern might be like vehicles or something.
You see, there you go. You see how that left leg won't go all the way up, right? That's one of those where, I mean, when Steve stretches it, he can stretch it a bit more, but then it just kind of flops back, right?
Yeah, like this one is good enough, but this one.
Yeah, so that one, the T-hook probably needs to be turned around. And even then, you might not get it all the way 90 degrees flush. In a perfect world, you'd have a thinner T-hook. You could just slide in, and then it'll be fine. Because Gaz tried that, and it worked.
Okay.
Yeah, he tried it with
the thinner. He tried it with an old school GI Joe T-hook from like the 80s.
Yeah, it turns out that our bar is just probably
a mil too thick. Yeah,
not even 1 or 2 millimeters, like not even a full millimeter, but just part of a millimeter too thick.
It's getting caught up in that plastic.
Yes.
It just causes tension. It's not really getting caught up. It's causing some sort of a tension that wants to bring it back down. So that'll be something that'll be improved in the near future. At least, thanks to Gaz, we know what it is. I was suspecting something different. Somebody that we were talking to noticed that Hasbro's newest O-rings, like the ones that they have with Soundwave and all that, are doing the exact same thing.
Okay.
So we thought it was just the tightness of the O-ring, but it looks like it's the T-bar. So we'll get that covered. We'll see what we can do. Maybe we can help people find replacements and stuff like that as we go.
That's cool.
It's a bit of a pain in the butt to have to take apart every figure and swap it out.
Well, you got to bear in mind.
You guys are aware of it. Yeah.
It's not every figure, right? That's probably why it was missed the test shot phase, because some of them, I mean, let's put it this way. The T-hooks are probably a bit too thick anyway. That's why even when you turn it around, you still get only most of the range, but not all of it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that when you got the test shots, they probably were the right way, right? And then when they go to factory assembly, some got turned around the other way. I'm sure that's what happened, right?
Yeah, it could
depending
be,
on the figure, you don't notice it at all. But then you do a full production run, and all of a sudden, what's going on here? Right?
Yeah, it seems to be about 30%. 30% of them are having that issue. I mean, it's not the worst thing. This guy's good. The other 2 guys were good. It's not the worst issue because at least it can be remedied.
Yes.
Yeah.
This guy, he doesn't want to sit down in a vehicle. He wants to stand at attention.
Yeah.
The vehicle word has come up a couple of times, and I know you've taken them out and posed them up with some old Joe vehicles. No commitment whatsoever, but in your ideal world, would you be looking at vehicles, or is that something?
Absolutely. Of course. Yeah. We're doing for wave 1, we're committing to a more significant vehicle, not, like a little dirt bike or a little what have you. We know there's another crowd out there that might be thinking of doing the same one. So I've almost been thinking about just announcing early, just so we can save each other a bit of money and whatever. What do you think, Ken?
I mean, I think it's worth a conversation because I know they want to do a larger vehicle, but if it ends up too similar to ours, we may have some synergies there. We may just have to call a group chat and say, what are you all planning? What's your timeline? If we do this in this timeline, does it work for you? If it doesn't, then we'll just continue to not cross paths on this particular vehicle.
The thing is, like, these people who want to do it, they're fantastic people with a fantastic product. I really like these people. When I design stuff, though, I don't like to collaborate because I want full creative control.
That's just how your mind typically works, right?
Yeah,
I've just noticed that, right? Like,
I'm not trying to be a dick, but it's just like, if someone wants to shorten something up, it's like, nope. No shortening, or someone wants to fatten this or add that. It's like, yes, no, whatever. And when it comes to
we can always put a silhouette of a teaser of what we've got. And then when they see it, we can see if there's any opportunity for some synergies there.
So it sounds to me like there's definitely I didn't realize, but yeah, you've got a thing planned in the works, designed, and you're just now, okay. Well, that alone, aside from the conversation that you're going to have to kind of figure out the best way of sort of moving forward, the fact that you've already kind of like, we're going to have vehicles, and that's where your brain is, I think, really exciting. I think that's the strength of this format, right? Is the ability to have,
there it is.
Okay.
There it is.
All
there
right.
It is.
Hold on a second. All right. Well, there you go.
Just don't, anyone out there that's watching, don't ask where's my vehicle, because this will be a 2-year process. It's a big vehicle, very complex. We're going to do it in 2 different color schemes. One, the classic camouflage for all you retro lovers, and one that's custom.
I'm going to go back. I'm going to mute my mic and go back and screen.
Custom retrograd. I know I wasn't supposed to unveil this for at least 6 months.
Thank you.
But, but we want to strategically, how do I say this?
I think Ken's texting you to. No.
Yeah, no.
Sorry, I was texting you your notes, and no, just joking.
Yeah, right. When it comes down to it, we're going to make sure that it is made properly.
Sure.
It's going to be made to the highest. Like there's been one other company, I think BBI Blue Box did a Hind at one point, and they butchered it. It was awful.
Okay.
And G.I. Joe did this, one of their helicopters, and painted it and said it was the October Guard helicopter. That was also not anywhere close to a Hind.
Wow.
Nobody's done a 1/18th Hind before except for one customizer online. And those were just 3D printed. Those were well done. We're going to make sure that it's affordable and it's well done. And we're going to, if it's not well done, it won't be made. I'm sure that it will have 1 or 2 little hiccups in it, but because you just can't perfect every joint, everything. We'll try our best. What I can guarantee you, that's why there is another toy line out there that really wants to do it, and I was afraid that they might announce it, so that's why I had to jump ahead and announce it here.
I thought they just wanted to do a big flying vehicle. I didn't realize that it was actually that model.
No, they've said in the past the Hind. They really want to do the Hind. And these are fantastic people. I really like them. I want to have a beer with them and not have any problems. But at the same time, when it comes to
I can arrange a beer tonight.
okay, when it comes to quality, when it comes to my vision, I cannot compromise. So I cannot do a collab. So Hind D, yes.
Yeah,
and
man. Folks are aware, and there
will also be an add-on kit for a Super Hind.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I love it. I love your like, this is what it's gonna be. I love that, and that's how you get things done, man. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that here. That wasn't something that doesn't seem like anybody.
Wow, I'm shocked you dropped
okay,
that. Do you know how much I have been what do you call it, biting my freaking tongue?
Well, yeah, I didn't want to do this. I feel kind of weird, but at the same time, it seems strategic because I know we have to get our foot out the door, and
I actually think it's really exciting to know for folks. So you've got your launch sometime before the end of the month. So these figures are going to get in people's hands. I think it's actually really great for people to have a sense of like, yeah, we're not stopping at figures. Like definitively, you've already been working on it, thinking on it. And I think, man, that is exciting. Like if anybody else needed more convincing as to like why 375 is particularly rad, like that scale is particularly rad, there it is. And yeah, that's exciting. In addition, I know we're running short on time. We should probably end up in the next couple minutes, but the comic book, we're looking, maybe with Ken, if he needs to go at 6, but you're looking at this comic. I'm looking at this comic panel here, and you're looking at maybe February. It sounds like release.
March.
Our artist is a bit slow. He's the same guy who who does our group shots on the back. So where's the bad guys? Bad guys. Here we go. So he did this one as well, and of course that panel you see on Instagram.
Yeah.
Those two group shots. So he's fantastic, and but he's a little bit slower because he's fantastic. So I like that part. I would rather have something beautiful than something we got to be like, that's great. Good job.
Yeah, grin and bear it. Like this was the guy we wanted, right? So
he won't get a participation award. He'll get a gold ribbon. So it's beautiful work.
Yeah, it looks fantastic, and as we've seen sort of on the site and in those packaging, it's really great. But it takes time to draw these pages, and so are you thinking? Are you going to print them, digital, both?
We're doing both. We're going to do free online, and if people are feeling nostalgic, they can buy the printed version as well.
Okay.
So
okay, that's great. So March, so sometime this month, we get action figures. All while that's happening, they're tweaking and finalizing their helicopter, Hind. And while this comic book is getting ready to be published in March, and I'll get to sort of fall in love with the story, get to know these characters. And then, and then from there, like waves upon waves. Again, we should close out, but I do want to say, if you haven't noticed what Geek Dad Life on Friday night, you were all there while Jay actually unboxed it, and you guys really went in a little bit more into the lore, the factions, etc. Highly articulated. You all just came out of that, and then in there, you all shared a lot about the background and how you ended up creating this whole thing. I learned just today, that you were looking at a different 3.75 line, right? That you were looking to buy, and then that didn't work out, and you said, well, let's create our own. Yeah. So if you want to hear a little bit more from Steve and Ken about that kind of stuff, check out those streams. I'll put them in the links. And then Wilhelm, this also this morning, and you all talked. I'm assuming, I didn't see it, but knowing one, he loves 3.75. So
yes, he does.
So okay, I'll send people there as well. But 6 p.m. It sounds like Ken's got his laundry done and he's ready to go out and get some dinner. Are we about right? I'm assuming correctly there, Ken?
I'm also answering questions because Steve just flashed up the hive. So I'm straight. I'm straight into what? Not damage control. Hype
I was
control.
going to say,
Yeah, probably damage control.
Don't
for
worry
sure.
about it, Steve. Don't worry about it, Steve. That's why Stiggy suddenly showed up in the chat, because he's been asking me for days for vehicle hints, and I'm like,
Oh yeah.
wait a few months, as I just messaged him, and now he's in the chat, and now he's thrilled, right?
Yeah.
And I just said to Gaz, there you go. There's what the thing that we've been hinting that we haven't gone full announcement on, because we have a lot of work left to do on it. Like, it's not going to come out probably in the next year.
Oh no, it's only on paper. It's not even in digital. But whether or not someone else makes it, we will still make our own. There's no stopping.
So as soon as Chad's done his stream, I've got to message him, because he called it earlier. He said, I want to hind a D, and I would buy a whole bunch. Is that the D or no?
Yeah, it's the D. We don't want to do the M or the K or the P or anything like that. This has been my favorite helicopter since when I first saw it when I was 13. So it's been my obsession.
As much as I wanted to talk about it, I know that this is kind of like, without this vehicle, I don't really think Steve is nearly as passionate about the line as he is. Like, he sees this line largely being built around this vehicle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why. Yeah.
Yeah. There'll be other vehicles as well.
The pressure is on now that the cat's not out of the bag, but the cat's poked its head out of the bag and is thinking about going running. So
yeah, that's great. Yeah. I mean, that's
Rick, you got the breaking news. You literally got the breaking news of all the streams you went on.
I appreciate that. I know it just worked out that way. It seems like, but like, hey,
if you want to clip that into its own 2-minute video, go for it.
What I respect is the creativity. Like, we've been looking at people just like living their life, right? Being like, I'm gonna take photos of my thing and I'll post them. I'm gonna shoot video, whatever it is today. And like, here's Steve, like, yeah, that's that creative beast who had this itch since he was 13 for this vehicle. And fast forward, and now it's happening. That's amazing, man. And clearly people are excited. I think as the news gets out there, and so Ken, thank you for the ping. Anyway,
Neil is like one of our big super fans. Like,
that's awesome.
He and Will are like,
we'll have them fight it out at Joe Fest to see who the super fan belt goes to.
Yeah, man, that's great.
So get your own belt. I'm not putting mine on the line.
We'll keep them posted to Wilhelm then, I assume, because we're going to learn also, just continue to get more info about the line from him. Ken, have you figured out how you're going to balance having your own channel and sort of, talking about your own toy line?
So
that's interesting.
If I have to cover history stuff, then it's a moot point. Doesn't matter, right? Because that's vintage, right? I believe that's a fair statement to make. For modern, if you see the first thing I did on my unboxing of Delta-17 stuff, one of the first things I said is, I cannot review this objectively, subjectively, right? Yeah. If somebody asks me straight up, are your figures better than this? I can't answer, right?
Yeah.
It's like asking me, is your kid cuter than that one? I can't do it. So if it's something like Mythic Legions, even G.I. Joe Classified, completely different form factor, I don't think there's a conflict of interest there. Right. Sure. The biggest conflict, and I won't even say Vintage Joe's, because Vintage Joe's is the baseline for what's fueled our line. Yeah. Right. I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, this is better than Vintage Joe's. Well, we added a swivel articulation. We were trying to improve it. You know what I mean? That's what you're supposed to do. But if anyone says, rank them, is Longbow better than yours? Is Recall better than yours? No, I plead the fifth, because it's like asking me, right? Is your kid cuter than mine? Is my kid cuter than yours? What am I supposed to say?
Yeah,
that's how it's going to be. So yeah, you're right. I've been struggling with this for a while. I may just lean heavier into the vintage for a little while.
Yeah.
Because then rather than going into like the marketing and like forward looking side of my toy tubing career, this is more like backwards facing research historical, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Right. So yeah.
Right on. Well, man, like again, wasn't expecting that, but I appreciate being able to like be a place where you can share information like that. I appreciate just the creativity. Seriously, hearing you today talking about where you came from, all the things that like fueled your interest, the notion of like, yeah, man, I wanted jobs where people would leave me alone so I could just create. Like that's beautiful, and I'm glad you're actually getting the opportunity to do this. Where should people look to figure out when exactly these figures are going to go online? Just keep checking the site, or what is there like a mailing list? What should they do?
Well, yeah, we're compiling a mailing list as well. Anybody who reaches out to, there's a email on our website, delta17toys.com, and then you click on contact at delta17toys.com.
Gotcha.
If you send us an email, even a blank one, we'll add you to our mailing list. And for the most part, we update mostly to Instagram and Facebook a little bit, or about 80% compared to Instagram. And I don't know if we'll start like adding more stuff to the website, like a news section. I don't know. Maybe we'll do that in time. And
you've got the Instagram too. Yeah, which is a good place where people get info.
Yeah.
So we'll look out for that, because again, the date's not firm yet, but the goal is to have those on sale before the end of this month. Any other details you want to share right now about that? I'll leave that to you. Like,
do I need to start looking for sculptors for the hind now? Now that the cat's out of the bag, do I need to start making phone calls?
I'll talk to you about
that later. You all have that.
Okay.
Yeah, you have that on offline conversation.
Yeah, I think we're going to be okay. I think we have someone who's proven himself now with the current project he's working on that he's able to do.
Yeah, but the whole thing?
Well, yep, I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
If there was one person in the world, that's who I want to. I just don't have that level of understanding of design to know if he could do the whole thing.
I'm just enjoying my popcorn.
But from what I'm seeing, that's my first. That's my first pick as well. I know who we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
It's in the works, folks. You heard it. Like they're trying to make plans now. They're figuring.
This is an excited, stressed out. It's like saying,
yeah,
we're gonna go win the Super Bowl. It gets you excited. You're like, oh, the pressure's on.
I love it.
I love that you did that, Steve. Now Neil can stop asking me.
Yeah, I'm still not sure about myself, but I mean, it's just, I just wanted to save possibly other people, the time and money. I don't know. Does that sound maybe that sounds arrogant. I don't know. I'm socially retarded. So
no, man,
that's why I'm here. Right.
Yeah.
What Steve is trying to say is subscribe to Toy Kennections and not just joking. I mean, if other O-rings people hear about it, who knows? They might have certain inputs. They might be like, hey, is it cool if you produce that and we make a decal sheet that fits our thing? I don't know. Right? Sure. That's the kind of thing that I had envisioned. But Steve, you and I haven't talked about it as candidly until now. And then fortunately or unfortunately, we're live. Right?
I can say, you guys know there's an audience, but
yeah, we know there's an audience, but it's just one of those things that I kind of feel like, anyway. Yeah.
Oh, you missed some stuff, Wraithmate. You should go back.
I'll tell you what you missed. He's a top tier patron on Toy Kennections. So I never let Wraith miss anything.
I love it. And yeah, last word, we'll give it to Stygian 360. Buy these figures, folks. You will not be sorry. Hail the Hind. It's there, folks. It is coming. It is in the works for Delta-17. You're getting a vehicle, not just any vehicle, a vehicle. That's not a small vehicle either, man.
No.
And you heard the intent is to make it right, because this is clearly a vehicle that Steve has had burned in the back of his brain for a very long time. Probably knows every little bit of that thing. So, whoo! Yep. All righty. Well,
Hind, yes, sir.
You checked his messages right away. I sent you the message 10 seconds ago.
I love it. Well, hey, listen, we should go ahead and wrap up. You do your dinner plans, Ken. Thank you so much, Steve, for joining. I appreciate you all coming through and talking some nerdy stuff with me. We'll be back here 4:30 next Sunday with some other co-hosts. Definitely follow Delta17.com, Delta17toys.com, Delta17 Toys over on Instagram. You can follow Ken on Toy Kennections and get some news that way as well. We got ourselves a little bit of a scoop. Hey, I understand you're going back to work, as am I tomorrow, Ken. Condolences. Hope it goes well.
Condolences.
I basically have 2
real
jobs
life.
now.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, thank you all to everyone who came through and checked this out. This was great. I really appreciate you all. You have a great week. And again, 2024, let's make it happen. Delta-17 vehicles
All
and
right.
all.
Thanks,
all right,
Ryan.
folks.
Thank you.
Have a good night.